It is B with another episode of Beachside Banter with B. I'm here today with Marcy Axelrod. I'm super excited. Marcy's got this long length of all these accomplishments, and it's absolutely amazing. She's a TEDx speaker, she's a best-selling author, she's also a consultant. So excited to have her here, Marcy. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you stand for.
Well, V, thank you so much. And I'm very excited to kind of port myself visually onto a beach as we do this.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
I hope that's okay. Um, what I stand for. I believe that I'm pursuing my calling and I'm on this earth to help people understand the truth about showing up, how nature designed human beings to show up so that we thrive. And
Yeah.
that is what the book is about.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, that's great. So, I know you are also around a couple beaches, is that right?
Yes, I live right near, the Rye Beach,
Okay.
and a couple days a week, I'm out on Long Island, right near the Crab Meadow Beach, which is unbelievable, and it actually has water on 3 sides,
Yeah.
and Gold Star Beach, where I went jogging yesterday morning.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. Are any of those your favorite over the other, or is this kind of one of those you just go hang out when you can?
I will tell you, Crab Meadow is so exceptional, and it gets these shells that are kind of gold and bronze, and you alternate between the 2 attention systems we have, which is something that's in the book, which is this very detailed grab it and get it, like there's a shell on the beach that's glowing
Right.
gold, or looking up and just seeing the expanse of what's out there. And those are literally 2 different ways of showing up because it's 2 different ways of attending to the world,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And you
Yeah.
can't have one without the other, but you certainly can't survive if you live too much in one or the other.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so your book has got me intrigued. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Let's kind of like go about the premise of it. And so the whole point is that we need to show up for ourselves in order to do what we need to do to get done. Is that right?
No.
Nope, just kidding.
No.
I don't even know. I haven't read it yet. I know I need to. I picked it up the other day, but I just have not had the opportunity to sit down and actually give my full attention to it. So I'm not even going to give it justice. Go ahead, Marcy. Tell us what it's about.
Well, let's really stay with what you said, B, because I think it's prescient in that when you think about the personal improvement, body of work that's out
Yeah.
there and how society thinks about self-help, it very much is exactly what you said, right? Focusing on yourself,
Right.
right? What was the specific phrase that you used?
Just we have to show up so that we can make sure that we're giving what we want to or what we deserve and all of that to each other. Yeah. Work.
Deserve for
Yeah.
ourselves. Let's think about these words, what we deserve and for ourselves.
Uh-huh.
So, and the let them theory, Mel Robbins, who wrote the quote on the front of the book, there's a lot of goodness there. It's a first step though, and I'm going to
Uh-huh.
explain why. When you think about everything that nature designs, think about a blade of grass, think about a tree,
Okay.
think about a human because we are of the earth. Think everything exists, yes, as an individual blade of grass, but is it there alone? It's the only thing and it's blowing in the breeze. No,
No.
it's within a field of grass. It's either in someone's backyard, it's in a meadow, it's on a mountaintop with a lot of other blades of grass. So there's something going on around it. There's sun coming down. There's whatever the temperature is, there's whatever the precipitation is. So there's a situation that's going on, but there's also this something larger, the sun, whether an animal comes and eats the blade of grass, maybe there are goats. So there's this societal aspect. We're connected to something more. Now let's distill what I just said. There's an individual self, blade of grass, that's a member of a situation at all times. It can never not be.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a member of something larger. Call it society. Call it back then it was a tribe, let's say. But it's also a religion, a race, a company, a family, a community.
Okay.
So we're in 3 roles at all times. So when we
Wow.
talk about
Okay.
focusing on ourselves and getting what we deserve, you start to say, is that really what nature designed? Is that truly who we are?
Right.
So
Okay.
that's the first big point that I want to make is that we're in three roles. And so is everything else. Not just everything nature created, but everything we create. Look at this podcast.
Right.
It's an individual episode. You and I right now are very much reverberating, how I'm feeling your energy, how
Mhm.
you're feeling mine. There are other people listening to this, either now or in the future. So I'm in their world, I'm inhabiting their space, and they are drinking in and absorbing what I'm saying. So there are many, many situations in which this podcast exists, not just now, but forever in the future.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then those
I'm hanging out with you so far. You've got me so far.
And then those people go out and interact based on the podcast.
Yeah.
So the podcast has a societal role that it's playing.
Okay. That
So
makes
the
sense.
podcast is an individual, let's say self, it's a situation member, and it's a societal member. And by the way, so are the ideas of the podcast.
Yeah.
So is the technology that we're using, and so is social justice, and so is race, and so is anti-Semitism, and so is fashion and fame and finance and everything out there exists in three roles because it impacts society, it impacts people within a moment of their situation, maybe many, and it impacts them as individual selves.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's just you just wove a very, very, very intricate spider web, and it's very exciting to think that expansive, I guess is the best way to describe it. Cause it is. You're not just like everything that you do affects everything else around you. So I get what you're saying. And so how do you show up then? How do you make the best version of you so that you can make everything else the best versions of them?
Yes. Well, it's interesting the way you said it. So you just put the self in the middle of the concentric circle, right? So you got self here first, right? And then everything else. So the first thing that you do well, I'm going to make this really simple. I'm going to show you the three levels
Okay.
because all of this plays out. People say, well, what do I do with the fact that I'm a member every moment that's co-creating a situation? And what do I do with my impact then at the societal level? I mean, the first thing you do is you recognize you're part of a whole.
Okay.
You're part of a whole that's much bigger than yourself. So showing up as nature design includes a belief system. I mean, you could call it a mindset because people kind of glom onto that word, but let's face it, the mind is also kind of the microbiome that's in our gut. It's our whole body. So you call it
Right.
mindset or body set. Like, what is it? You know, anytime someone says mindset, I think to myself, so you're just like a cognitive process. Is that all you are? Like you want your platform or ideas to be a mindset and sit here, but
Right.
well, like, is that really recognizing the societal, within my body as a society, let's say,
Right.
right? So I'm gonna show you how this plays out. Because it's not just an academic model. I mean, I did put a simple model around it, but
Okay. Yeah.
let's just focus on the three levels. You can see one, two, three.
Hmm.
Barely there. Just showing up, which is what 80% of us do 80% of the time, according to my 20 years of research. And this is truly showing up.
Okay.
Okay. But it's not just, levels and numbers on a continuum. Let's talk about what it really means.
Okay.
I'm going to make this personal. Is that okay?
Do it. Let's do it. I'm an open
Well,
book.
so B, I was really touched when I read that list of questions that you sent.
I sent a bunch. We're probably not even going to get to half of them.
You really thought things through and you brought me through a provocative set of questions.
Hmm.
That was truly showing up, and I'm going to level 3 and I'm going to explain why.
Oh, okay.
You weren't just thinking about yourself, like I need to have a good podcast. You were thinking about the situation that is to be going on, which is right now.
Hmm.
What are you going to do in the future? You were planning and preparing for a situational reality, which, by the way, is our touch point
Oh.
of our lives. This is right now.
Hmm.
Preparing for a situation helps you to come into contact with the world with who you want to be and have it play out in a way that you find to be, you know, ideal, right? Or chosen, right? So It was truly showing up in that you prepared for the situation. You set yourself up to be here present, not thinking about what's my next question, right? So you set yourself roll up, your situational roll up, and you know that this is going out into the more that's out there, our societal role. So you were living in all three roles when you did
Oh,
that.
look at me go. It's like I knew what I was doing or something.
And I'm gonna add a layer here,
Uh-oh.
and then we can get back to any of your questions that you
Yeah.
want. But I'm gonna add a layer that's really important because what the continuum really does is so you can see it when you're barely there, you're really just in your self role. So you've got a mirror, it's focused on you. This is like the self care. It's all about me, what I deserve,
Mhm.
or maybe how I need to be seen, or maybe um, I'm feeling lesser than or better than, right? All of those things keep you here. But
Hey.
as you move from your self role into your situational role, you start to notice and tune in because you're presencing in the moment. You're
Mhm.
noticing. And once you notice, like, whoa, look at how windy it is. Gee, maybe I should go help my neighbors with their chairs that always blow off their porch or like whatever it may be, right? And then you tune in and notice what I immediately did. You start to feel with and enact care. And that's written right here and it's explained in the book. Notice, tune in, feel with, enact care. And all of a sudden, you're not just a self. You're deeply presencing within the situation and you're showing care within your societal role, right? You're outside of yourself. You've turned your self mirror like this.
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden you're much more of who you want to be. And this brings meaning to life. And we can talk about the meaning crisis, but I'm going to
Yeah.
pause here because I think I answered your question about, so what do we do with these three roles?
Yeah.
I,
You absolutely did. And you did it in a way too that like makes sense to I mean,
right.
I'm not gonna say that I'm very smart or anything, but like you kind of dumbed it down a little bit, but not enough to where I don't know, it people will understand what you're trying the point that you're trying to get across, basically,
Yeah.
from how you explained it. And I really appreciate that.
Can
Yeah.
I put some different words on that? Is
Yeah, please.
so instead of dumbing it down, what I'm trying to do is make things very real life. Like this is real life.
Yeah.
And when most of us just show up, and we can talk about what that means, kind of lay in bed at night and you're like, gee, like this wasn't really the way I wanted my day to go, or gee, I'm just
Mhm.
exhausted, as opposed to like, wow, I really brought my best. I truly showed up. And I'm hoping that I impacted, this person in the way that I thought was helpful. And this project at work and this event over here, and I prepared right. So we want to feel a sense of meaning. And that's what truly showing up brings. So what I'm doing is bringing the ideas into not just our daily world, but like when you're laying in bed. Like I want you to viscerally have a different experience because you've understood you got a choice. You're gonna
Right.
be on that continuum every moment. And so is everybody else. And that's where acceptance comes in, right? Not permission of just I'm gonna let them and I'm gonna permit, because that's still like a power over type thing.
Yeah.
It's much more acceptance, and I've got a whole chapter on how the continuum creates acceptance, but it also creates permission for you to move up and down the continuum. You can get tired, you can be barely there, you can mess up because the rest of the continuum is always there for you and for
That totally
everyone.
makes sense. So, I always get into like this crazy funk, December, January. Like I'm sad, the depression, seasonal depression or whatever it is. How do I you like flip that to show up better for myself and for everybody else? So like for instance, literally like this past week, I was just like, I don't really have the energy. I don't have the strength or the go or the motivation to put out like content and all that stuff like I need to. And I know that I need to because people are relying on that stuff. They want it, they want to see it and all of that. But there's times where you just get so exhausted and you're tapped out. So how do you flip that and make it better for everybody else?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. I think a lot of people and a lot of your listeners and viewers go through that, as do
Yeah.
I and everybody. This is so I'm going to address this um, first by talking about what it truly is to be barely there
Mhm.
and then how we move out of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
So when we're barely there, either we're depressed, we're stuck, we're sick, we're grieving. We're burned out, right?
Right.
There are very valid reasons to be there. And it exists in two forms. It exists in a conscious form, which you are experiencing, B. You know you're there.
I call them there.
With- You're with it. You're feeling this experience. It is part of your life. It is part of you.
Mhm.
Um, that gives you choice, right? That we can talk about. The other way that people are there is unconsciously.
Okay.
They're just spinning. They're in anger. They're deeply depressed. They're in despair. And they aren't able to step outside of themselves and say, gee, I'm having a hard time.
Right.
And this is how it's showing up to me. So let's stay. So, and I talk about both, but let's now stay with the form of barely there that you have, which is a conscious, fully experienced, barely there. So the first thing is recognize it's not showing up to you.
Okay.
It's showing up with you
Okay.
and for you. This is
Okay.
part of the lexicon of showing up. To becomes not just to, but with and for. So the for, now you feel its kindness. Now you feel its gift.
Mhm.
And you can say, this is telling me something. There's information here. Did I not really process all the effort, all the weight of last year? Did I not really reflect on whether or not it kind of did for the world what I want it to?
Okay. Yeah.
As you do that, I'll tell you what you're doing, and this is the one key word. If I'm not gonna use choose as my main word, it's gonna be care.
Okay.
Because now you're starting to care for yourself, and I don't mean faux self-care. You get yourself candles or a scent or a day at a spa or you let yourself sleep in too much. I'm not talking about faux self-care, and
Mhm.
sleep is important, but it's really when you go
Very
to bed,
important.
not when you get up, but I'm not talking for self-care. I'm talking about self-compassion.
Okay.
That's the first thing. So now we've transitioned from what barely there is to how we get out of it. The moment you investigate with curiosity, it starts to transition and show up differently for you.
Okay.
So I'm talking about, invite it in, like go open the door, come on in. Seasonal affective disorder and lack of motivation and what, right?
It was so bad last week.
Sit at the table, you make yourself 2 cups of tea, and you give it a cup of tea, and you say, "Let's be with each other," and you write in a journal or you reflect. I think journaling is amazing, but what you're doing is saying, "I got this. I can hold you, and I can learn from this so that I'm prepared next November, December, or I'm prepared like, whatever the cycle is." And you start to think about what got you here? Was it too many late nights? Was it too much hard work? Was it not feeling like you achieved what you wanted, right?
A little bit of all.
And then you're caring for yourself. And then you can say, okay, what's my choice? What am I going to do now?
Okay.
What am I going to do now? And I caution people because we're in a life of doing and of having,
Mhm.
which is causing us to feel a lack of meaning and a separateness from the oneness that's out there. We don't want to focus on meeting our needs by having things. Our needs can only met by being and becoming the person we want to be.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah, because I go through these spurts where I'm just like, I put in an extra, I can't even tell you how many hours 1 week. And then
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I try to give it my all and I just can't keep up and I get exhausted. And then it's like go completely missing from the earth. Then I'm like, I can't do this for a few days. And then I pick myself back up and I go back through the cycle again. So if I could figure out a way to stop the cycle,
Yeah.
it would be
Well,
amazing.
so let's look at what you just talked about. You don't want to stop.
Sorry.
What you want to do is, so you're doing push a lot, like go really hard for too long, burn out, then go way down and way up and way down and way up and way
Yep.
down. You don't want to stop that. What you want to do is make it more gradual.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
In gradualness is wisdom.
Okay.
So you want to say, what's my limit? What's the too much? And how far down do I need to come? And what does coming down mean? Like, what does that mean? Does it mean one fewer podcast each week? Does it
Okay.
mean I make these 45 minutes or 30 instead of an hour? Does it mean I don't push myself to get them out within a week? I give myself a month to get these things out.
Okay.
Right? What does it mean? Does it mean I go to bed at 10 instead of 11? Right? And I pull out, watching 2 hours of TV a day. And I
Right.
like, so that's what you think about.
Hmm.
So it isn't getting out of, things aren't black and white. Like a big part of showing up. This is how nature designed.
Okay.
When you like, up and down are not opposites, right? You keep going up sufficiently far, you come back from the other side,
Yep. That makes
right?
sense.
Too much are the same way. Black and white, almost all of life exists in the gray, right? So, and the thing is, black wouldn't exist without white, and white wouldn't exist without black. So, like, they're two sides of the same coin, right? So,
Right.
the mindset, if you want to use that word of showing up, you would say, like, how do I get out of this cycle? It's like, no, the cycle, the cycle happens to be the life you want to live. You just
Okay.
need to come into the middle a little bit, right?
That
So it's a
makes sense. Yeah.
shift. And it's the same thing when someone pisses you off. Think about it the same way. It isn't, it's like, what are they really doing? Let's invite it in. Let's give it a cup of tea. Let's
Right.
investigate. Need I feel this way? Is it triggering something from the past? Showing up top, right? So I'll say one more sentence and then stop. There's a skill for each role.
Okay.
The skill for your self role is grounding, knowing who you are and why. So if someone's pissing you off all the time, maybe you've got it, like there's a trigger in you and you need to think about this. Maybe the person's not really doing what you think.
Yeah.
This is in my world every day. I have a teenage daughter.
I know what that's like. I have two adult sons, so they were very much pains in the asses when they were younger,
That's
to put it mildly.
so self-grounding, situational readiness, like that's what you did, planning and
Right.
preparing. And what does readiness truly mean? Because it's in addition to a list of questions, it's an embodied thing, right? It's choosing how you will attend and what hemisphere of the brain to use. So I talk about that. The skill for our situational role is connectedness with intent to serve. And I put a word on it called all-telligent, but I define what connectedness truly is and what service truly is. So anyway, I'm going to stop there, but
Yeah. I'm excited. This sounds like so I can't tell you how many books that like I've read. I do the self-help and stuff. I've struggled with depression my whole life, so I've had, that I've always tried to find a way to make it to where it's not crazy because I don't want to take medicine and all that stuff for it. I want to be able to control it. So being able to like sit here and like actually talk to you about it, I feel like you're making sense in a way that most people have not been able to do that. So first off, I applaud you because I love that. Because a lot of times you'll read these books and it's just a bunch of people saying a bunch of words, and it's like, okay, but I don't really understand how that, relates to me and how I can take your words and make myself better, basically. But you totally just blew my mind because you literally explained it in a way that I can understand it. A and B, I feel like it's actual tangible now. Like I feel like I have something that I could grab and hold on to and actually move forward with. So yay, Marcy. That's amazing. Okay, so
and by my way, It's right here and it's on the website too. This is the model. Those are the roles and the skills. That's the continuum. And that's where it comes from. Yes.
So many people are going to benefit from your book. I can't even begin to say it.
Oh,
Yeah. So what inspired you to go down this route? Is this something that you've kind of struggled with yourself and you're like, "Hey, I finally figured it out, so I got to tell everybody else," or what was it?
yeah. I mean, with most people, right? When you're living your passion, it comes from something in your past. And of course, unfortunately, that's often suffering. So when I was 6 years old, I lost the ability to show up as I chose.
Okay.
I started to stutter. My family moved from Baltimore to Boston, and my parents had these great new jobs. And little Marcy was kind of always just doing the right thing. And
Mhm.
my version of acting out, because when I wasn't getting the attention and care that I needed, it was more to kind of to make myself sick. I acted in. So my throat locked and I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
So through the suffering of, age 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it really didn't start to lighten until I was 18, walking onto a college campus. My self role, my self mirror of struggle and pain turned outward.
Uh-huh.
I can't show up as I choose. Look at how they're showing up. These
Okay.
kids, right?
Yeah.
Why is one a bully and one a scaredy cat? And why aren't the teachers coming in and helping us to be more unified? And I said to myself, none of these people are showing up as they would choose, even though they have choice. I don't have choice. They
Right.
can choose, and they're throwing their show up choices away. Uh,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and the thing is, you can't move away from it. It was every moment of every day.
Mhm.
So you can imagine. And then when I was 12, I was sent to a rehabilitation hospital where elders were relearning to walk and speak and feed themselves. And there I was supposed to speak words a certain way into a machine so it would light a red light and tell me I was doing it right. And I thought, first of all, why is it red, not green? But why am I speaking into a black box, literally a metal black box with a microphone? Like, this is really debilitating, like emotionally debilitating.
Right.
But I did it because I was kind of the kid who just did what I was told. So I put my head down and I did it. It was awful, like 8 hours a day for 3 months. It was awful.
I'm so sorry.
But what I noticed, thank you, amidst all of that, when I was 12, right, seminal time in the shaping of the brand.
Yeah, man, you're just a old soul,
Uh,
it sounds like.
and when I went downstairs, so thank you. I think I am for a number of reasons. So, but I would go downstairs and I would see these elders struggling with skilled experts by their side and plans, well-made plans. And I thought to myself, if elders with all that wisdom in their 70s and 80s can't show up as they choose, even with a well-made plan and an expert by their side, like there needs to be a roadmap. Where's the blueprint?
Yeah,
So we're
absolutely.
we're missing the blueprint of how humans are designed to show up so that we thrive. So I just devoured every piece of psychology and neuroscience and behavioral economics and evolutionary biology and everything I could to try to piece together what could it be. And then I started doing global surveys of how people achieve using that word back in 1999, and that became the model of how we show up.
Wow. Yeah, so it's amazing. To have that kind of insight at that young of an age is incredible to me. I don't think well, I know most of us don't have or or the want or the need, you know what I mean? There's also that piece too. Like you could I see what you're saying when you're like I wasn't doing what I wanted to. I wasn't showing up for myself or in that. So I get how like sometimes you got to make that decision because there's how many times have you heard that saying where it's like you can't help people unless they want to help themselves. And I think that's kind of what this embodies is you have to set up yourself up so that you can be better for everybody else and be better for yourself and be and I yeah. Anyways, I love this. I'm super excited. I want to get into the book now. Like I know exactly what I'm doing this weekend and I plan on binging this whole book. I cannot wait to dive into it. I just know that I'm going to learn so much. So, I know okay, so the show's about the beach. I know I got to at least bring it up again, right? So I've talked to a few people who have lived by the beach, for a long period of time, and they say that a lot of times they get like energy and like kind of like a rejuvenation, so to speak, from the beach. Do you feel like you get that too?
Oh my. So the beach is my happy place.
Mine is.
And the beach is a great place to practice showing up
Okay. Yeah.
because you are at once. Using the two hemispheres of our brain, like, as I say, one is get it done mode. That's
Right.
level two, just showing up. Get it done. You are very superficially there because you're zoned in on a very small thing.
Hmm.
And often we're losing sight of what's the significance of what I'm doing. I'm
Okay.
emptying the dishwasher. What a pain. How can I make it faster? I'm slamming the plates. But what I'm really doing is caring for my family.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
when they come home, it's a smoother time, right? Anyway, the beach very much brings you into right here, right now. The
Mhm.
waves are crashing. There's an auditory sensation. There's often an olfactory scent of seaweed, of salt, of whatever's there. There's a feeling under your feet that's forcing you to use your vestibular system of balance and all of that
Yeah.
in a different way that we get walking on asphalt or concrete or whatever the floor is in our offices. Um, you are very much right there right now. If you're like me, you kind of find one thing and stare at it. I've collected shells. I'm very much brought down into this one grab and get power over mode.
Yeah, I'm really laughing because literally, like, the last time I was at the beach, I saw like this. I don't even know. It was like a wasp or something. It was building a nest, and I sat there and stared at it for like an hour and a half and just watched it. And like, it just kept building this mound and going in deeper. And I was like, I don't have any idea why I'm so fascinated by this, but it's just so cool to see this little bitty creature making this. Because I know it was making a little house for himself and all that. So I'm like, this is so neat. Anyways, sorry, totally got you off topic.
No, that's the topic. You're on topic. Um, from there, and I can explain to you why you were mesmerized. So everything that goes on in nature also happens with us. It happens with our behavior. It happens how people move. It happens with how we decide. It happens in groups. It's the social structure and systems of justice and education that we create. So what the wasps are doing when you look at them, it isn't even a metaphor. It's a model for things that are also going on in our lives.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So from the focused attention that the beach can call us to with all of our senses, taste, touch, smell, all of a sudden we look up and we're confronted with, right, the more that's there.
Yeah.
We're confronted as we look at the horizon with, I'm on a planet. This is
Yes.
a planet. I'm on a sphere that's hurling through space. The other thing is that when you really look from side to side across, you recognize its curve.
Okay, yeah.
We're not on like there are actually no true right angles in nature. When you reduce everything to a little thing, you might say, well, yeah, my stick has a branch and it's going straight out, or the tree is coming straight out of it. But
It's not.
back up to the mountain, look down, oh, it's curved
Mhm.
and it's not really straight. And by the way, neither are we. And we are, if people don't know this, we are trees. These are the branches, like, right?
Right, yeah.
Everything about us is the same structure as a tree, and it's also the same structure as a lot of riverbeds that come out with the branch. Like, we are nature.
Mm.
So the earth, being on the beach, very much puts us in the contrast of our day with focus on the narrow thing and come out and see the more that's out there. One is the situational self and one is our societal member role. So it's
Yeah.
back and forth and back and forth. And it's very important to keep coming out into that bigger world. If it's okay, B, can I just
Yeah,
explain very simply why we have two attention systems and why this is such a big
that's
deal?
absolutely.
Because
I'm fascinated.
one leads us to just show up, and that's not what you want, and the
Right.
other leads us to truly show up. So
Okay.
when we evolved, we had to do two things. You know, we had to eat, right? There's a rabbit over there, grab it, get it, kill it, right? Eat, which is the power over, the control over, and we had to not be eaten.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
which is the surveil, the wide landscape. Is there a storm about to come? Is there a predator over there? Where are the, where's the rest of the tribe, right? So that's why our brain is in two parts, and it leads us to attend to the world differently. When I pause, and when anyone pauses in their day and just lets their system reset, all of a sudden you're moving from the left hemispheric system to the right, and what comes online is care.
Okay.
This is moving us from the self-focused, get it done, barely there stuff, or just showing up stuff, into the feeling with and enacting care. This is what leads you to notice the song in the back. Oh, I love that song. And you start to sway to it. This is what brings you into thinking about, my colleague mentioned, his parents were getting older and we're going to have to move into a home. And, maybe I should go and say, like, hey, how's it going? Your life completely shifts. And this is the moving from the staring and picking up shells to looking at the horizon.
Got it. Wow. Yes, that totally makes sense. I think like a lot of times people aren't really looking into the whole of it. They're only like focused on one little thing. So I totally see. Marcy, you are so smart. Can I just say that?
It's going up. Zoom. It's how you get out of depression is use the right say more, and the book explains. Anyway, I don't know that I'm so smart. I love to read.
I think you are.
So the hemispheric stuff is the work of Ian McGilchrist. He's a psychiatrist
Okay.
out of I often say the UK. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope it's not uh, Ireland, but anyway, his books are The Master and His Emissary, and then these two massive 1,000-page tomes called The Matter with Things.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you really want, that's deep intellectual stuff.
Yeah, it all seems like it's very life changing, especially once you start to employ, what you've learned from your book and his book. And wow, I'm excited. I actually like feel like I finally have something that like might actually help. I don't know about else to explain it. Which is great because like I said, I've always had like it's usually because I think I lack vitamin D and I really 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 need a lot of sun in my life. So like I lived in Missouri for 40 years and Missouri has the most bipolar weather. I mean, it's snowing in the morning and then you wake up or like 3 hours later it's 70 degrees and then like 4 hours later it's icing and it really is temperamental. So I think that usually I am inside too much because the weather's crappy or whatever it is and I'm not getting out and I'm not getting the vitamin D and everything that I need. I'm not showing up for myself, so to speak. And I think that's kind of where it starts to 'cause it was like an every year thing, every December or whatever, it's like, here we go again, cold weather. I'm not a cold weather person. I need to be by the beach, at the beach, in the sun, all of that. So, anyways, I'm very excited for this book. I'm super excited that you had, took the time to explain it to me in a way that I can absorb it and actually like, utilize it to make better of myself and all of that. So, I'm really excited about that. I think you are just so, so smart. And I'm really excited about everything that you can offer to so many different people. So how do my followers and my audience actually find you? Are you on a website? Do you have like can they consult with you? Tell me all about that.
Yes, they can definitely consult with me. The website, choosetoshow.com,
Okay.
which will read, yeah, it used to focus on my speaking. It probably still is a legacy website that I need to update. But anyway, there's a contact page, choosetoshow.com. Also, Amazon has the book, and there's also a way to contact the author. I'm really easy to find. Just Marcy at choosetoshow.com.
Cool. Yeah. So, everybody, I'll make sure to go ahead and link that into the show notes as well, so that you can go in and order her book. Get in there, actually read it, and I can't wait. I would love to have some sort. Do you have like a forum or something where people can go and talk to other people, where they can like community, so to speak?
I love that. I don't have that, but
Okay.
why don't I just? You think we should just create one on
Yeah.
X or on?
Yeah. I think that would be great.
Would you help me do that? You can be the first to kind of put something out there. I was
Lovely.
I have one other request. I would love honest, authentic feedback on the book. Marcy, this part really works for me. This part like didn't make a lot of sense and feels, academic and so just I really need that feedback. So I
Oh,
really
yeah, absolutely.
gotta, make it
If
meaningful.
if you wrote the book the way that you explained everything to me, there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't be able to comprehend it and take it and use it as a Bible, so to speak. I don't know. I'm really excited about this. Super excited. I can't wait. My husband has no idea that I'm just literally going to be sitting on the couch reading all weekend, but that's going to happen.
Came sit on the beach. It was actually a goal of mine to walk onto a beach and see someone reading my books.
Yes. One of these days I will. I'll take it with me and I'll take a picture just so that you can see it.
Oh, me too. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really fun conversation. I can't tell you how much I've learned, and I think that's the best part about this podcast is it's not necessarily bringing people to like it's about learning, and if I could learn something new every single day, then I feel like I have actually accomplished something. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. I'll make sure that everybody has your information, and hopefully we can get some people headed your way and really start to build that up because I feel like what you have is something that a lot of people need in their lives. So hopefully we can get it into a lot of people's hands. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcy. I always end the episode with one final question, and that is what does paradise mean to you?
Wow. And you don't give people forewarning, right? You just
Yeah, that's the one question I don't tell anybody about.
okay. Well, I'll tell you what came to mind. I mean, paradise is everybody on the planet, including the planet, being happy and healthy, right? No war, no hurt. And being able to, I think, do what nature has designed us to do, which is this reciprocity, mutuality, because that's how nature works. Every tree helps every other. Everything on the planet's supposed to be in kind of mutual flow. Now we're going to need struggle, right? Because without that, you don't learn and grow. So some version of struggle that's kind of far less painful and violent than it is now. And
Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. If only we could get everything to work, in synchronization and just be cohesive, I feel like everything would be perfect.
well, once you understand the truth about showing up, you show up differently. You really, really do because everyone has permission to show up on that continuum for who and what they are right here, right now. Right? There's acceptance and there's, as I said, reciprocity and mutuality is always going to show up. So if anyone's hurting you, don't you worry. They're going to learn and they're going to learn the hard way. So you just
Very much so.
don't be, mean or rude back. Just know that you're impacting the world every moment, right? That's part of showing up. You're impacting the world every moment. My TED Talks actually state the science and statistics behind that.
That's awesome. Yeah, my grandma used to always tell me you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So I always try to be nice to people.
Well, I say like there's a bigger picture out there. So it isn't just feeding yourself, like using the honey instead of flies.
Mhm.
You're part of something much larger. And because we feel a lack of meaning and a separateness in today's world, and we didn't get into this, but because we feel that way, we think we use metaphors like honey. But really what's going on is that there's a much bigger process that we're all showing up within. We're not showing up as isolated beings. So modeling a more ideal way of showing up, truly showing up by recognizing the impact that we have, the power we all have, it changes everything. It changes how the world shows up for us. It changes how others show up for us.
Such a great conversation. Thanks again so much. I will keep you posted on when everything airs and all of that, and make sure you have all that information. So thank you, and we'll talk soon. Have a great one.
Thank you, B.
Bye. Hey there, beach lovers. That's it for today's episode of Beachside Banter with B. I sure hope you had as much fun as I did. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. You can catch me on all social media platforms at Life, Love, and Travel. And if you've got a question or you just want to stop by and say hi, feel free to slide into my DMs and I'll make sure to get those answered for you. Big thanks to everyone who joined me today and for all of you who tuned in. And until next time, enjoy your week.